All right. This is going to be a battle with these glasses. But anyway, last night I finished up all 9 picks for the Tennessee Titans evaluation of their draft class. Go check that out. But today I'm going to be going over the Barnes University draft class, the prospects that I would have taken, um, that I did take per se, live while the Tennessee Titans were taking their guys. I do this every year. Um, Here's my intro, right? If this is your first time finding one of my videos, I'm Charles Barnes. I've been in college recruiting offices, been coaching, doing video cut-ups, been in college equipment rooms. I'm a PFF certified data analyst. Been doing this for over a decade. So my game is that I keep accountability, I keep documentation. I'm not really into the draft media lack of accountability game where I just memorize 200 prospects, if that, a year, and just spew stuff and then victory lap first rounders and stuff like that. That's not my game. My game is kind of just to simulate the real process as close as possible, share my results. I've been one of the more accurate evaluators since I've been doing it. Why don't you know my name? Because ironically, this social proof aspect of what I'm doing right now, sharing what I do, obviously, I guess that's not enough. So when I share the fact that I've tripled the accuracy of most teams in the NFL, where you get 1 pick out of 7 correct annually, and I've tripled that to where I'm getting 2 to 3 picks correct annually. I guess when I say that, that's doing too much. That's a borderline. I'm Cam Warding it. I'm Shador Sanders ing it too much. Let me coin that phrase. Apostrophe ing, top quarterbacks of the draft class from Texas, being a little bit too confident. So I do this because apparently that's what people want. They want social proof and they want credibility. So that's why I'm sharing my intro like that. But if it was up to me, let my hits do the talking. Anyway, let's get to it. So I would have selected wide receiver Tory Horton out of Colorado State with pick 52. So shout out the regime for the Tennessee Titans for being cognizant, being open-minded. It probably wasn't too difficult, but trading back, acquiring this pick 52, and then acquiring a third rounder in pick 82. Believe it was the Seahawks. So Seahawks wanted to get somebody so bad, and because of their want, it created opportunity for the Titans, and it is exactly what I would have done as well if presented with the opportunity. So why Tory Horton? Why this early? Why right now? Well, if you actually paid attention to the draft, you saw that Tory Horton went, I want to say, 111 picks later. So obviously, and then I think consensus he was around 96. So I picked him 44 picks earlier than consensus and 111 picks earlier than what he actually takes. So obviously the value is going to be perceived as, whoa, you overdrafted. Well, that's your opinion, because I believe that Tory Horton, a healthy Tory Horton, is a top 5 wide receiver in this draft class. Why? Tory Horton is a versatile receiver when it comes to position flexibility. And I know those two things are the same, but this is what I mean. So he can be a Z, right? And that's the guy that's more off the ball, doesn't have to deal with the press as much. But he also can develop into, once he gets stronger, which he's done that, he's answered the bell with that, bigger, stronger. He can also be an X. And if you look at the statistics, I want to say he had an 82% success rate versus press coverage, and then an even higher rate converting slants. I think closer to like 88 to 90% success rate versus press and running slants, right? 82% success rate versus press. Kind of think about that. 82% of the time, when he faced a cornerback in his face, he converted and had a first down or had a catch, right? And then 88 to 90% of the time, when it was a slant being ran, he was able to convert that. So then you want to talk about the mirror effect of that. What was that? The level of competition who he was facing. But at the end of the day, you got to catch the football, right? And that's what he did. He also has 3 punt returns for touchdowns in consecutive years as a punt returner. He's mature, smart, hard worker. He glides as a runner, much like one of my later round hit. This ain't even a late round hit that I had, but this is more so like a journeyman hit, a Pro Bowl returner, Cavante Turpin. He runs like Turpin, and Turpin is definitely a 4.2 athlete. And talking about 40 times, Tory Horton ran a 4.4140 coming off of the ACL injury. He did have a knee injury where it wasn't any type of injury that happened because of a movement concern. It was because literally a defender rammed their helmet into his knee, right? So we don't have any concerns there. Doctor checks out the knee, said it's going to be better than, this is what the doctor said, the surgeon, better than his old knee. That's what he said. So he glides like Cavante Turpin, one of my hits that I've had. He has 22 and a half in-game miles per hour. So he really is a gamer, right? He might not look it. Long strider, 22 and a half miles per hour in-game speed. He's a horizontal pass game expert, runs away from defenders. He's a willing run blocker. Remember I said he's getting stronger. He's a freestyle route runner at this time. He's still precise and quick, but he makes the spectacular contested catches when needed. And I don't think that's because of lack of separation. He did deal with some quarterback inefficiencies, in my opinion, last year. So he's really just trying to make up for that. He has his, speaking of his stride length, he does have longer legs, so it can be deliberate. He's gotten bigger, but still is kind of lean. But overall, to me, because of those things, the consistency in the special teams aspect as a returner, the speed, the size at 6'2", 6'3", 195, with room to add mass, the fact that he ran a 4.41 coming off that knee injury, where I believe if all things being equal, if he wasn't coming off the knee injury, he probably runs a sub 4.4, probably a 4.37, 4.39, if that, maybe even closer to what the Titans did with Chimere Dike. I think that he probably could have pushed that 40 time with a 4.34ish. And just to comp where the Titans where the Titans and who I selected, I think Tory Horton can be in what they want Chimere Dike to be. So I think Tory Horton is my Chimere Dike, if you will, with much more production, with a much higher ceiling, just based off of college production, right? One of my themes of this draft class was to get players that did have production. So I mentioned some of the Tennessee Titans themes and some of the stuff that they were apparently trying to target. Like they were trying to target, athletes, great personalities. They were trying to target guys that, were coaching dependent and situation dependent, but at the same time had the intangibles to reach a certain goal. They also had, they drafted high floor people with special teams value, right? So that retention rate is going to be high. So for me, my theme of the draft was to get athletes with traits that could impact the game immediately, pro-ready guys who had mastery, versatility, and physicality to the game. They had a pro-ready and a role-ready in place. They had high floor too. Everybody that I'm going to mention has special teams value, whether it be returners or gunners. Another thing is, to close it out and put a ribbon on it, put a bow on it, was I wanted to get upper echelon tape and analytics, and I wanted them to marry each other. So all of my guys will have high level analytics that support the tape, and is a cohesive marriage between the two. So that's something that I did that I don't think consistently, and I'll go back and look at all the GMs in the league and how they drafted, but I think I consistently knocked it out the park with high level analytics, upper echelon analytics, and the tape marrying each other. And that's why I targeted Horton where I did, was because I didn't believe there were that many receivers that check the box with size. And I'm not saying he's physically imposing, but he has the potential to add mass. At 6'2", 6'3", 195, he can add about 5 to 7 pounds of mass and be in the 200s and be a more physical receiver. He reminds me of Stephon Diggs, which is a perfect segue to close this out with the comps for Tory Horton. So for me, I had him anywhere between, like, at the floor, I think he could be like a Jacoby Myers type wide receiver as his floor, and his ceiling is obviously like a Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs type. And why? Reliable. They have some size and length to them. They're route technicians. They make spectacular catches. They just are gamers. And I think that that's what Tory Horton can be in the NFL. And obviously, real time, what really happened, the Seahawks took him. So he's going to go into that system with the Seahawks working off of JSN. And we'll see what happens with his career. But that's who I would have taken with pick 52. Stay tuned for the next one.